This is the week Joe Biden made headlines. The vice president made not one, not two, but four mistakes known as gaffes. Take a look.
In terms of foreclosures, in terms of bad loans that were being, these Shylocks who took advantage of these women and men while overseas.
I stopped in Singapore to meet with a guy named Lee Kuan Yew, who most foreign policy experts around the world say is the wisest man in the Orient.
General Dempsey's assessment about using ground troops if necessary.
The conclusion is it is not needed now. We'll determine that.
I determine that based on?
We'll determine that based on how the effort goes.
Republicans that were involved, guys like Mac Mathias and Packwood and so many others. It wasn't Democrats alone.
So what does this mean for Biden, and how would the press react if Biden were a Republican? Joining us now, Fox News contributor Guy Benson. Guy, how you doing?
Hey, Tucker.
So if Biden were a Republican, what do you think the news would look like this week?
Oh, there would be all sorts of hue and cry about this, and every statement that Biden made would be emblematic of the entire Republican Party, and every Republican in America, from Senate down to dog catcher, would be asked to repudiate what he said, and it would be a national field day for Democrats. Now, Democrats, of course, play by different rules, and this is Joe Biden. He's a gaffe factory. This is what he does. So no one is exactly surprised by this, and everyone sort of shrugs and says it's Joe being Joe and chuckles like he's a slightly overserved uncle at a family gathering.
So, I have to say, as a conservative and a believer in free speech and a believer in intent, I think it matters what you meant to say, not just what you say accidentally.
Absolutely.
I want to stand up and defend his use of the word Orient on the grounds, A, who cares? It means East, and Asia is, in fact, East from here. And B, like, it's not an inherently offensive term. Shouldn't conservatives use this opportunity to point out how opposed to freedom of speech and freedom of thinking the left has become?
Yes, and I think of the four gaffes that you just played in that montage, three of them really ought to be inconsequential. I don't think Joe Biden's an anti-Semite when he says Shylock. He apologized, fine, let's all move on. I don't think he's trying to be disrespectful toward Asian people for saying the Orient. It's an outmoded term, perhaps, and he's moved on from that as well. Even his praising of Bob Packwood, he wasn't talking about Bob Packwood's misogyny and sexual misconduct. He was talking about bipartisanship. Intent does matter. Now, when the shoe's on the other foot, none of that matters, right? It's just, what did you say? It's just a feeding frenzy. There's a pile on, and it's just ruthless, ruthless politics. And I think we spend and waste way too much of our political energy on both sides, but especially on the left, playing gotcha, imputing bigotry to people unfairly, to go in this phony outrage industry, and I would rather not be a part of it with Joe Biden. Now, I will say, of the four, the Iraq one is the most problematic because he was directly contradicting President Obama on ground troops, and that just fuels this narrative that the Obama administration's policy in Iraq is absolutely incoherent, which it is.
Which it is. I hope the next person who accidentally says the wrong thing refuses to apologize and says, just grow up, get a life. We've got real problems in this country. Let me say what I want. Back off. Guy, thanks a lot for coming on
I'm
this
with
morning.
you, Tucker. Thanks.
Amen.